So here's a breakdown of my trades for November the 20th, and it was completely crazy 1,200 point sell-off. Uh, Here's the open. Started around 9:30 and back and forth, and I don't trade the first 30 minutes. And at 10 o'clock, I started looking for my first trade, and so at 10:07 ish, I got my signals. I dropped below the 50. My RSI dropped below the 45 level, and I had strong selling pressure, volume. I entered the trade. I had a 109 point stop loss, and I was looking for a profit target of 1.5 times that was 163. With my system, I'm looking now. They're set up for the trend to go lower or the trend to go higher, and they're just basically trend candles. I'll explain them later in the video, but if I get a color change, I'm out. So I'm out with um, it ended up being a 10 point loss, 10 and a half actually. But so we rocked down here, and it was just, this was craziness in the open, and so something was about to happen. And so I shifted. We're back above the 50, and we have buying pressure come in, and then the RSI goes above 55. So I enter the trade here, and at some point I'm up around 50 points in the trade, and I felt confident we were going to have a breakout. We got a color change, so I'm out with a 6 point loss where my bars turn back to neutral. So in the first market, I've managed to lose the first hour of the market, I've managed to lose around 16 points. And uh, all of a sudden, it turns bearish. And we drop below, and these lines here are denoting where my RSI, the way I have my settings set up, drops below the 45 or goes above the 55 level. And so once we drop, I'm looking for a red candle, and I have everything set for a trade then. So I take this next one. I put my stop loss above the last place my RSI kicked down, which is 90 points. I'm looking for a 1.5 to 1 ratio to take profits at 134 points. So this turns into a pretty good trade pretty quick. And at that point, we've had a 220 point swing quick, and everything is bearish. I'm looking for a place to re-enter. After the first drop, I like to see it pull back to the 50, and then the RSI drop back below my 45 level if I'm going to go short again. As I'm watching, the market is just beating its way down, and obviously it would have been a great trade to just hang on to and ride to the bottom, but I look for a 1 to 1.5 ratio, and this keeps me profitable, so I'm going to continue to do it. So I took a break here around 11:30ish because we're nowhere near the 50, and it's just beating down, and I come back at 12:30. So I'm going to skip over to 12:30. So this is where I come back, and I'm watching it, and obviously I'm like everybody else. I'm like, how low can it go? And we're starting to see a few buyers come into the market here, but not enough to really change anything. Then obviously it shoots back up. It goes to the 50. Now I'm looking for a close below the 50 and a drop of my RSI to below 45. And we spike on up here. And on any normal day, this would be a great return to the median uh, trade with all this buying going on. But it could go from here to here, or it could turn and drop another 1,000 points. It's just craziness. But I'm still following my system. So we come over, the buying just stops. And when it stops, there is a automatic 115 point drop in 4 minutes there. But we bounce right off of the 50, and then we ride the 50, and we get our first close below here, and the RSI drops below 50. But for my confirmation, I want the RSI at 45 or below. And it kicks around, and then it drops to below 45, right on my blue line here that I've and so my stop loss always goes at the last turn down of the RSI. Wherever it dropped from that sent it below the 45 level, that turn down is my stop loss, which is right there. I go a couple points above it. So I've got 119 point stop loss. And I'm looking for 180 points on the trade. And in a day like today, I fully expect it to drop that much further. So I enter the trade. Uh, we have, that's it, 135. And right here it starts, the selling pressure dies off, but I want to stick to my system. It looks like I need to get out here with the buyers kick back in. We could have another run up like this. Uh, but I stick to my system. The candles are still red. The RSI is still below 45, and we don't have any reason for me to get out, and it hits the target at around 14, around 204. So it was a 180 point winner. And honestly, I felt like that I had a losing day because we had a 1,200 point drop and I captured about approximately 300 points. If you're new to trading, hang around and watch the rest of the video. If you're an old hand, it's of no interest to you, but if you're new, watch the explanation on the RSI. It will keep you from blowing accounts. Thank you. And looks crazy, like a bunch of just colorful lines. And we're going back to my first trade. The second trade. Let's see. We put a vertical line in here. First, second, third, and then my fourth trade. And we don't even need to see price. Uh, and it's crazy, but you could just trade the RSI and be okay. And nobody would want to do that. I'm just saying this is how valuable this indicator is to me. If I enter here and this happens, if I'm going short here, which I did, if this happens and I don't have my color candles set up, I'm out here. This is an acceptable loss. If I enter here and I'm just caught in the wash. When this happens, I'm out. Another loss, it wouldn't be catastrophic. And if I took the full loss on both these trades, I would still have been up around 100 points on the day. And that's where my candles come in to keep me out of that. And there's nothing sophisticated. All this stuff is free on TradingView. This is just a CSRI indicator, and I put these lines in on my own. It's just, it works. And now obviously you wouldn't want to sell here and hold until here, because you've hit the oversold level, and that's where the take profit and stop loss keeps you safe. Now I'll open the chart back up. I trade using a 50 moving average, RSI, and volume. And when I'm looking for a short position, I have to have a red candle, I have to be below the 45, and I have to be above this is the trend line, and I have to have selling volume above the trend line. And if I'm going long, I have to be above the 55. I have to have selling pressure above the trend line and to enter the trade. And if all those things line up, I enter it. Now, I run at about a 70% win rate. But it's steady and it works. And if I was a new trader, I would learn to use the RSI. Now this just keeps you from blowing accounts. Obviously, wonderful trade. If you just rode this to the candles change color, which would have been here, obviously would have been a 700-point winner. 700-point winners on a single contract don't happen very often. And if this was your first day trading and you sat down and made that trade, you'd think you were a genius. Just stick to the system that works once you find one. And again, like I said, a total of these small losses, these winners, I'm happy with that every day. But if you're having trouble, if you're a new trader and you're having trouble blowing accounts, use this RSI until you get it under control, because it's very hard to blow accounts if you're in the trade below 45 on the RSI and out of a trade above 50. It's very hard. But I trade every day, have for years. This is just a crazy sell-off, straight down. And for the guys that know how to ride these until the end, good day for you.